This week, the UK and the European Union marked a new chapter in their post-Brexit relationship, announcing a new agreement Monday between Britain and the 27-nation trading bloc covering fishing, rights and trade. Prime Minister Keir Starmer is hailing the agreement as a win-win, saying it puts the UK back on the world stage.
These deals release us from the tired arguments of the past and, as an independent sovereign nation, allow us to seize the opportunities of the future. A clear message sent across the globe that Britain is back on the world stage.
However, some opposition parties in the UK, they're slamming the deal and accusing the Prime Minister of surrendering to the EU. Jeanna Smialek has more on this. She's the Brussels bureau chief for the New York Times and can help us understand what the reality is. Jeanna, great to have you with us this morning. So is this agreement a win-win for the UK and the EU, or has the Prime Minister, as some have put it, surrendered?
I think that there are definitely aspects of this deal that are a win for each side. Both of them got things that they wanted out of this. I think that what we really see those surrender headlines surrounding are things like the fish deal, the Britain extended access to UK waters for European ships who are looking to fish there for a little bit longer than I think many Brits had hoped, and certainly than the fishing industry had hoped. And I think there were a few other smaller aspects of the deal. But I think really what the sort of backlash that we saw to this deal highlights is that there's still a lot of tension in the UK over drawing close to Europe. I think it's sort of this innate suspicion of that kind of move. And so I think, we're going to have to wait and see how this lands over time.
It has been 5 years, though, since Brexit, when the UK left the European Union. That in and of itself was controversial, and it was passed only really on a slim margin in the UK. Why now, then, are we seeing ties grow closer?
Yeah, so I think this was branded as a major reset and just something that needed to happen after years of figuring out how to decouple. So it obviously, starting in 2020, there was this formal decoupling between these two economic blocs. But at this moment, they need to think about how to normalize trade relations, how to sort of work out some of the kinks that pulling apart created, and then also how to work much more closely together on issues like defense in a world where America is really pulling back on being a tight ally and a consistent supporter, both when it comes to free trade and also when it comes to things like European defense and the North Atlantic Treaty Organization. And so I think this is partially about what's happening on the global stage and partially probably just a long-awaited reset after a period of decoupling.
And speaking of the global stage, this follows the agreement with the US. We just saw Keir Starmer with President Trump recently, and a deal with India. So what does this all mean for Britain's standing on the world stage?
Yeah, so I think the India and the EU deal actually have a lot in common and come in kind of contrast to the US situation. So what we've really seen is a lot of America's trading partners around the world, including Britain, trying to strike up new trading partnerships as America shows signs of pulling back. So even with the trade deal that the UK and the US have struck, they're still facing 10% across the board tariffs from the United States. And so it's clear that the US is pulling back. Everybody is looking for new allies. And so I think that's what we're really seeing here from the UK.
All right, Jeanna, thanks so much. Jeanna Smialek joining us from Brussels.